Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX 1200 Pellet Grill Review. Hey, this is Ricer from Smoke Barbecue Source and welcome back to the channel. But if you're new here, I think you should subscribe. The Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX 1200 is the second generation of this pellet grill. Now I had the first generation Rider DLX and I really didn't have a lot of issues with that pit. But Oklahoma Joe's did a couple upgrades to the 1200, so let's go through them now. The unboxing and the assembly on the Rider DLX 1200 is pretty dang simple. I've done several cooks on this pit. I smoked up some chicken and did a reverse sear on a tri-tip, which turned out fantastic. But today I decided we'd smoke up some St. Louis ribs. Now this video isn't about how to cook ribs on this pit, but we might as well have something in there so we can see this pit in action. First thing, let's get in some pellets. Now they do sell this as an accessory, which is pretty cool because you can put your pellets in this screen and that keeps all this dust out. There's a little bit in there. We'll just pour them in. And we might have to add a few more as this cook goes along. So we're gonna turn the power on, and the Rider DLX 1200 comes with a PID controller. It is adjustable in increments of 25 degrees. We're gonna run these ribs today at 225. We'll open up the lid and the chamber is still pretty much the exact same thing as the old Rider DLX. Now because we dump the pellets after every single cook, we have to wait now for that auger to fill up and get back to that fire pot, which takes about 15 minutes. Then you'll see a little bit of puff of smoke, and then once it starts burning clean, then you can close up the lid and start preheating this pit. Pit's all preheated. Let's go ahead and talk about inside the chamber first. This pit still has the tiered adjustable top racks. The big difference inside the chamber is these baffles now can come out so we can get quick access right into that fire pot. Now today, I'm just gonna cook these St. Louis right on this bottom rack. For a lot of you people that have never really ran a pellet grill before, you are always going to want to rotate your protein if you're cooking more than one thing anyways. Now the second thing that's different about inside the chamber is you now have two probes that are checking the temps. The original one is still on the left-hand side of the chamber, but they've added one right behind the fire pot next to the sear zone. Now back to the control head, the buttons are lined up a little different, but on this one we have 4 probe ports. They give you 2 probes, which can be stored easily right in this little tool tray. Like I said earlier, this is a PID controller and it's going to read and react. And you can see right now that it is doing that because we're coming up close to our 225 degrees temperature. The auger just stopped, and soon now the fan just stopped. There, it's back on. That's so that this pit doesn't exceed the temperature that we've had it set at. It's gonna go over a little bit, but it's not gonna go over like 50, 60 degrees. On an old standard analog, sometimes you could have some skyrocketing temps. So that's a big improvement on this pit. Now one con that I see on this pit is that the controller is not Wi-Fi. Now that really doesn't bother me, but if you're looking for a pit that you can control off an app, this one might not be for you. From my test cooks, this pit does run a little hotter than what you set it at. Now it's not astronomical, but there is a little bit of difference between what I've set the controller at and what the pit is really cooking at. That's why I always say, learn your pit and cook the way it performs. One feature that I've used quite a bit is the timer. So you just hold the timer button down. You can click it so you count the timer up, or you can count the timer down. But we'll set these ribs for 30 minutes and then we're gonna rotate them. Now some of you might see that we have 2 different temperatures reading on this controller, and that's because of the fire focus. We have it set right now in smoke mode, so it's reading the actual temperature for the whole chamber. If we hit it over to this, now we're gonna be reading if we had the sear plate opened right next to the sear plate. This pit does have a wide temp range. It goes from 180 if you're on the smoke mode, all the way up to 650 degrees if you have that sear plate opened up. And out of all of the pits that I've ran, this pit still has one of the best sear zones on the market today. The Rider DLX 1200 still has a 20-pound hopper, which is plenty big enough for an overnight cook. One big upgrade to the 1200 is that now you can enter into that auger through this panel. The original DLX did have a reputation of having auger jams, so with this removable panel, and now that the baffles are removable, it's a lot easier to hit that auger jam from both ends. The Rider DLX still comes with your standard tool rack and your side shelf. And the lid handle, it's cool to the touch, and there's a decent enough amount of gap in between the chamber and the handle that it never really gets that warm because of this rubber coating. You got a great location to store your upper racks. The Rider DLX has 2 grease pails, and that's pretty cool because then you have 2 areas where that grease can escape. And it has a removable ash pot, and that makes cleanup a lot easier. Now you're still gonna wanna clean out the inside of the chamber every 2 to 3 cooks, just depending on what you're doing. If you're doing a couple grills, not a big deal, but if you're doing a couple low and slows, you're gonna wanna pull everything out of that chamber and get it nice and clean. A very big upgrade is the rubber coated wheels compared to those old iron wagon wheels that they used to do. This pit moves around so easy, it's incredible. I mean, one finger, I can push it from one side of the studio all the way over to the other. It's very smooth. If you're on a little bit of an incline, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're locking them front casters, because this pit moves so easy, it could get away from you. Through the magic of time, these no-wrap St. Louis ribs are done. And for all of you that are wondering how long they took, it was just under 3.5 hours. So we'll take a look at them real quick. Obviously, when it comes to a no-wrap rib, they're gonna get nice and dark, but these have some really pretty color. Got some good pullback on them too. And on the bottom, well, we're right above that. It is gonna get a little bit more crispier on us, but overall, that ain't too bad, and that comes from the sugar rub that I use. But these are nice and flexy, and they're starting to break, so they're done. So we'll go into the shutdown cycle because that's our next step. Hit the shutdown button, 3 seconds, and now it's gonna tell us to drain the hopper. So grab your pellet bucket and slide that in. And I did add a little char hickory pellets to this cook. Just pull out your quick draw, and you might have to flap it a little bit. So we'll get our ribs back out of here now while this thing is cooling down. That looks like a pretty good color though, if you ask me. And now this is gonna go into a 30-minute shutdown cycle. And you can see that I'm already down to 26 minutes left. So first it's gonna burn off all those remaining pellets in the auger, and then just burn out the remainder in that fire pot. Now, one thing I'm guessing when you go into the shutdown cycle, it actually raises the temperature on that pit to more of a grilling temperature, so it's gonna get a little smoky. Might as well get one of these bones cut off and try a bite. Slice right down them. Get this bone right here. Now look at this. This is a nice looking no-wrap rib. Dry rib, because I didn't mud it up. I want to keep this face kind of clean during this video. Now I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what's my opinion on the Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX 1200. It's very positive. I had the first generation, but this pit is running much better. I think this pit is a perfect entry level pellet grill for anyone. It is perfect for the people that want to grill and smoke. This sear plate, hands down, is one of the best on a pellet grill. Even if I wouldn't use it much, I do wish that this pit was Wi-Fi, because there is times where I wish I could just check and see what my internal temperatures are on my protein in that pit. Like all pellet grills, you gotta learn the pit first before you can start talking about it, and everything that I've cooked on it has been real good. It certainly doesn't lack any smoke flavor, and you could see when this thing was cooking, it's smoking. Now the biggest con that I have on the DLX is that you gotta dump the pellets after every single cook. It's not because the shutdown takes 30 minutes, it's actually the startup takes a little bit longer because that auger doesn't have any pellets in it. The bonus is, if you want to change flavors midstream, it's pretty dang simple to do it. One small thing that I could see them doing to this pit in the future is adding a gasket on that lid. It really likes to leak a lot of smoke. As far as cooking on it, it does a lot of things right. There's not a lot of stress running a Rider DLX 1200. Now, if you're looking for more information on the Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX 1200, check the description below. We'll have links on pricing and an in-depth review from Smoke Barbecue Source's website. I gotta eat some ribs. Thanks for watching. Perfect.